Dr. Deviprasad Shetty, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Professor Rishikesh Krishnan, Director, IIM Bangalore, members of the board, heads of the departments, members of faculty and staff, distinguished guests, recipients of the degree and awards, young and bright students, and their proud parents, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. I'm sure this is a glorious day for you, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the IIM Bangalore for inviting me to be here amongst you on your day, the special day. And also want to congratulate each one of you for being graduated and also awarded with a special mention and awards and medals. And also want to thank and appreciate the work of the administration, the faculty members, the staff, parents, and everyone contributed to this great event today. And also especially the young and bright talents that I'm able to see in front of me, who are going to make a big difference in their life and also the society at large. Of course, award of degrees and medals are the stories of your work and contribution over so many years, and also the teachers and mentors that help you to reach where you are. So I wish that you thank all of them, including your parents, at this moment of great accomplishment. In a convocation address, as a chief guest, I am supposed to tell some topics that I thought, as advised by your director, I thought that I will speak about technology, not really to give some advices, because I come from that domain of space technology and technology in general. So maybe in next 20 minutes that is allocated to me, I believe that I won't overshoot. So you have to bear with me. Because I know that during a convocation day, it's not the day for speeches, because you are all very anxious to receive those degrees and medals and to celebrate today evening. And in midst of it that I am here. But very important topic that is given to me is the technology, evolution, and its impact on society. And as an observer, looking at the growth of technology, has already been mentioned by Dr. Reddy, Devi Shetty ji, on those predictions of that technological growth. Some of them has not ever materialized. Anyway, that point comes later, but of course, first and foremost is to talk about what's going to happen. And then look at whether it is really going to happen or not. I think this is something which is very interesting. And if you really look at some of the quotes, which are very, very interesting quotes, the future is faster than that you think. And similarly, another quote is that the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest opportunities. I think all of you know that very well. And the day before something is a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. I think all of these are very well resonating with the technology people. And if you really study the growth of human civilization over the last 150,000 years, you will see from the inventing of the wheel, the fire, the agriculture, the pottery, the metalworking, the industrialization, the communication revolution, and the space age that we are today. The evolution of technology has changed the way human beings lived. And if you really look at recent events in the history on technology, that one of the important things that you will immediately recognize is the digital revolution. I think that's in front of us. And another important point which is very, very evident is earlier the technological evolution was very localized and linear. And today it is global and exponential. And this is a very important aspect that is affecting all of us today. Look at sensors. You know sensors, you measure temperature. Earlier, your temperature measurement was analog. Now you put it in your mouth and you measure the temperature. Now you don't talk about it. You are talking about digital temperature. Everything that you measure is in the digital domain. You look at mass, weight measurement. Yes, earlier you used to have the balance. You used to put mass and then weigh 1 kilogram. But today you don't talk about analog weigh balances. They are all digital weigh balances. And the sensors are coming to our life so much that you see every sensor is digital. You look at the networks that are connecting us, even telephones. They are no longer analog. They are all digitally connected. AI has just now been told. Robotics, it's there everywhere, and it's there even in your room vacuum cleaners are robots now, able to sense many things, 3D printing, virtual reality, the synthetic biology, the blockchain. I think all of these are in your midst today. The digital revolution is very much there. And today we are reinventing the business model and economy with the digital edge. I think this is the biggest thing that is happening today. But in the last 2 years back, that the COVID-19 taught us some very, very important lessons as far as business people are concerned and the economics are concerned. And it taught the power of exponentials. And this is very important. And another important point which I want to tell you, that all those devices and gadgets that you used to use plenty in various forms all got integrated into this one device. Now, mobile phones replaces most of those devices. Communication, entertainment, or you talk about, work, life, everything runs around these mobile phones. So let me ask you a question. What will be your next device after, say, 5 years? What will be this mobile phone will be replacing in your day-to-day life? Let us look at what is going to be your next gadget. I believe it's going to be a robot that will walk with you, work with you. It will replace everything that you know today. For example, it can replace a worker at home, doing all the home chores, cooking, cleaning the home, planning the procurements, purchases, and in the evening it will become a teacher for your kids. It will teach you a new technology, language. It will give you the tuition. It will do all the maintenance work at home. It will be a plumber, an electrician, and it will work on gardening. It will go out and do some of the gardening and do a lot of work for you. So virtually, your office assistant, you does all your subordinate work. So slowly, that robot will be so much powerful that it has all the knowledge of the universe resident in it. You can ask whatever question that you have to it, and it will answer. Today, mobile phones do a little bit of it, but then over the years, the robot will also translate your commands into actions. Of course, the mobile phone cannot do that. And that will be the transformation that's going to happen. And the other biggest thing is the digital connectivity. Of course, the telephone has gone around all around the places. And we know the computational power also is increasing. The Moore's law, all of you know the transistors law, that every year it doubles. But I don't know whether it has now reached its threshold. Some people say it has already reached the threshold of transistor evolution. But then now we have the quantum computation will take over this whole of this Moore's law. And the exponential growth of compute power, it's actually changing everything, the way in which computation can be looked at. Yesterday, my colleague was coming and telling me that we have a computational fluid dynamics code which is now able to solve acoustic problem. I think possibly you may not understand this, but in my domain, solving acoustic problem is a very huge problem of computational intensity. And they are able to solve such problem because computational capability is so much in existence. And another important point that is going to happen with the technology evolution is the question of scarcity versus abundance. I think this is, again, reasonably well understood today. I think we have been talking about scarcity of everything. We talk about power scarcity, we talk about water scarcity, we talk about material scarcity, health-related issues. And with the technology infusion into our midst, I think scarcity is giving way to abundance in many, many ways. I think you can look at in examples. Look at solar power. I think solar power, that out of all the energy that we are receiving in Earth, very little percentage is still harvested. Very huge amount is wasted. And if you really do that with over the time, and power is going to be in excess, really. And many things are happening around the power architecture or the engineering of it. In terms of storage, alternate technologies are evolving, and the new businesses are happening around the power excess. And battery cost, if you look at the lithium-ion battery itself, the cost is so much being reduced, and it's now being more and more accessible. Look at water, drinking water. I think with so much of power availability, drinking water will no longer be an issue. Solar power-based desalination projects will run in a manner that water will be plenty. You look at healthcare, you talk about digital healthcare. And there are many, many work that's been happening in the digital healthcare domain with AI likely to disrupt. Of course, there is a question now being raised by Doctor on whether it will really happen in short period of time. And learning. You look at the earlier generation, if you want to learn a subject, it was at great access those information was very difficult. Today it's no longer. Any subject that you want to learn that is available to you, it's actually plenty. You don't know what to learn and where to learn. And resources will be plenty available, the new processes that are being discovered. And you look at expertise. If you are looking for experts, I think they are also going to be plenty, because it allows people to learn new skills and upgrade them on a regular basis. So you will have plenty of expertise everywhere. And poverty and famine is also coming down if you really look at the way in which the world is changing. More people have electricity, child mortality, health issues are becoming better. So you are actually having abundance of many things. And of course, you know the connectivity. I think the connectivity is one of the important elements. The connectivity is not between people and people. Connectivity is between people and everything that you can imagine. Every system is actually connected to the network. Human beings and equipments and machinery and every device is getting connected. And you know, even home automation is one of the biggest thrust area in the business circles. I recently had an opportunity to look at one of the work that's being done by your Geo. They are pushing the whole of the home automation and digital connectivity as one of their biggest business domain in the days to come. And you can see the PNT services, the positioning, timing, and navigation services from space, streaming of data and high data rate from space. The projection is that at least 500 billion connected devices is going to be there in a few years from now, and maybe connected using more than 100 trillion sensors, the sensors which I started speaking about. Satellites, drones, autonomous cars, AR, VR devices. I think all of this will be the thing that's going to be amongst you. And AI is going to be revolutionizing everything that you do. And it's going to be a data-driven world. And all algorithms, as you know, AI is actually a result of the data that's available. And data storage, archival, utilization is going to be the biggest business in the days to come. But what is more important is AI and human beings are going to collaborate and work together in the coming days. Like, for example, you look at AI-driven diagnostics, doctors getting replaced by powerful AI engines, lawyers getting replaced by AI tools, medicines and genomics being driven more by AI, police investigation, more driven based on AI tools, judicial justice delivery. Will it ever become AI driven? Hopefully, because they can compare data and then reach judgments much faster based on evidences. Of course, you know about the connective system using delivery systems, personal transport, everywhere it's going to be very important. Healthcare and longevity is going to be the next topic. I think this is where we know that one of the statements, very interesting statement, they say aging is a disease and disease is curable. Now look at that type of profound statements. And one of the research domain will be this, possibly not in the immediate past, but it's going to be one of the very important topic. For example, the gene therapy is slowly catching up, and treatments some of these treatments based on gene therapy has recently been approved, and they are being operated. And there are methods by which the targeted gene engineering of virus vectors, and that can be implemented on a healthy gene. And DNA editing tools are being offered in the market where at least reasonable amount of, say, 80% of the gene can be edited using these tools. Whether 80% is a good enough coverage, it's a question mark, where you can look at defects minimization on your next generation of people, or searching for DNA sequences which requires to be corrected to make some positive impacts outcome ultimately. Maybe the design will be to convert a 100-year-old to a 60-year-old, maybe. That's going to be the type of work that's going to happen in this. Of course, the work on advanced diagnostics, stem cell research, all of these are going to be very important. Look at another domain called sensory perception of human beings, the brain research. I think this is also getting so much of traction nowadays. You know, the Neuralink, what our Elon Musk is speaking about, they have made some headways, implanting sensors in brains, connecting electronics to the human electro systems, and then taking sensory perceptions, able to do some physical activity outside. I was watching a video of a person who was paralyzed to see chess by his mental pictures. Things are able to be moved, and then he can actually play chess using the Neuralink connectivity. But imagine this growing slowly. At some point in time, you will be able to control robots using your thoughts. And you will actually feel the sensory perception. When he lifts a weight, you will actually feel the weight on your hand. Just imagine that. And he goes to a cold area, you actually feel the cold, warmth, or whatever. You climb the Everest, you feel that you are on top of the world. And you can actually experience when the robot is actually climbing the Everest. Imagine he goes to moon and then see that world, and you actually experiencing it internally. Not by visual cues, but you are as if that you are there. I think these are all possibilities when this Neuralink concepts and brain electronics connectivity is really going to happen. Maybe doctor can advise me on this, whether it's all going to be true or not true. But then these are the type of domains of work that's actually happening. But it has immediate benefits. For example, people with the deficiency, you can correct them to improve their sensory perceptions, or maybe to enhance your sensory perception. This can really help you, at least. But then if you really look at some of the disruptions that are going to happen, it's very interesting to look at the disruptions, which are not yet happened, but likely to happen in the coming days. Is something like, for example, digital medicine is something really going to happen. I think it's already work in progress. Apps that can detect your mental and physical ailments through either analyzing your cues or looking at some of the samples that you can evaluate and then reach some reasonably accurate conclusions are really going to happen. Look at another domain, electrical mobility. Drones and electrical vehicles are going to be the reality. Only one obstacle they have to cross is the batteries, which has an energy density typically around 300 watts per kilogram, has to reach something like 500. I think once they reach that type of capability, I think electric mobility will be the reality, and all of us will be traveling in drones from one place to another, and using like your taxis. And electric vehicles in cars are already a reality where the mass is not a constraint. But for drones and electric aircrafts, this is going to be a big impact. Similarly, low carbon. Everything that you talk must be low carbon footprint. For example, construction. Cement will become, today cement is one of the highest carbon consumption or carbon valued product, because so much of energy goes into making cement. But then how to make cements which are largely carbon footprint. So low carbon cement, and similarly other construction material is another technology. Green hydrogen is another domain where there is a lot of work happening. I am also in a group where there is a lot of discussion and technology development happening under green hydrogen initiatives, and bringing down the cost of hydrogen to 1 rupee per kilogram. I think $1, sorry, I made a mistake. $1 per kilogram of hydrogen is the goal that has been set to make the whole sector transform in the coming days. Quantum sensing is another area which is looking at sensors which will work in underwater navigation, or even looking at the disaster predictions. Whole genome synthesis, I think I mentioned about it. Sun-powered chemistry. Sun-powered chemistry is another interesting area where you can actually convert carbon dioxide into complex molecules. And once you are able to convert these complex molecules, anything can be built out of it: polymers, chemicals, medicines, food. I think all of this can come out of synthesis of carbon dioxide using solar power. Just imagine that you are able to synthesize food like plants using solar energy and create food at home which can be eaten. Biomedical innovations are already happening in very big ways in your midst. Virtual patients, where you can actually test medicines and on computer simulation, computer codes, and then see whether medicines really do the solution ultimately, so as to accelerate the development of new medicines and make it available to the markets. I think this is yet another area. I think like that you can talk about many new disruptions that are happening. But then my topic is not only these disruptions and changes in technology, but also its impact on society. I think this is something that is very interesting for each one of us. For example, let us look at the changes that are happening across the world, the demographic changes. The rate of population increase is actually coming down, which indicates there is a serious issue for developing nations. For developing nations, it may be an advantage. For example, for a country like China and India, it's an advantage. But it's a scary picture for people in Europe and many other Scandinavian countries, and the population is coming down, and whether they will be able to keep this knowledge and skill that they have created over generations into the next generation? It's a big question. Similarly, the migration pressure. I think out of this, what will happen with the technological growth, the migration is going to be one of the important issues where from those countries where there are no technology available, I think they will all migrate to these nations, and the entire demography of the world is going to be significantly disrupted. Another big area is the climate change. I think climate change is impacting everywhere. It's making headlines across nations. It's making burden on nations to make allocations. It's also increasing competition. It's also causing instabilities even to governments. And to that extent, climate change has become very important. I think on the economic side, we can see, though technology growth, I talked about many of them, but whether it is going to be equally distributed way it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. Some of them are going to happen in certain countries and it's not going to happen in many other countries. This will create large amount of economic disparity. And a very fragmented trading environment will come out of these developments. And you will see employment disruptions happening largely. And you'll also see big firms, so the global firms dominating, especially in the domain of e-commerce. And one of the biggest challenges that you are going to face is how to dismantle these big behemoth companies and create smaller companies to handle e-commerce in a bigger way. And technology, which I already discussed, which is very, very, very significant. But if you look at the society, whether the society will be responding to this growth of technology in a very positive manner, we believe that it's not going to be happening like that. It's going to be a very skeptical society will form. You will see that all this technology is growing, but it's not going to be accepted by societies very positively. You will see very, very disrespectful or pessimistic societies emerging at many places. And it will also create new identities and new groups which will have resurgency activities or disruptional activities and creating very, very troublesome environment for at least some nations. And I don't want to specifically say what way it is going to happen, but it's one of the possibilities. The reason is simple, that the population today are well informed. I think information cannot be contained somewhere. So it travels very, very fast, and this has a creation of possibilities of creating cooperation, but also has the possibility to create disturbances in it. And states and governments will face bigger challenges, which is growth in technology. Because the pressure from the public will be in delivering services and capabilities which are visible elsewhere. And some governments which are not capable of delivering will actually face challenges, and transitioning of government will happen much more faster than you ever imagined. You are actually seeing it happening in many countries in recent times. You look at global scenario. In global scenario, you will see international institutions will become weakened because the technology is so growing, and you will not see that type of institutions have any relevance in the coming days. And some states will start dominating in the dialogues and discussions on how the world should run. And those names of those countries are well known to you. And there will be a lot of jockeying for creating global norms, and new methods of creating institutions and rules will emerge. Of course, it will happen. It is happening everywhere. You are able to see that, but this is going to be the result of the technological growth as well. And democracies. Among all these events happening, you will see new democracies emerging, and you will see that growth in technology will also create larger public-private partnership models. Wherever there are strong democracies, you will see this is surviving and growing. And it's very important to keep that in mind. Of course, you will see trade in many areas. I don't want to speak quite a bit about politically sensitive domains, which is going to be a result of this type of growth, which I'll skip. Okay. But then the most important part is what Dr. Shetty mentioned about all these predictions and wish lists that I mentioned about. Are they really going to be reality in the short term? But you really look at the world in the past. I come from the space segment, the space sector. When people went to moon in 1960s, and then many people ask me why human beings are not going to moon in the last so many years. For example, more than 50 years, nobody ever ventured to go to the moon once again. After the initial euphoria of going to moon and landing on the moon, there was stories that people are now going to Mars. In fact, there was a project in USA to go to Mars and create a colony in 1960s itself. 1968, the project report was written, submitted to the government, and government was about to approve. And then US government decided, of course, we are closing down the program, the Mars program, and afterwards there was silence. Now you look at 2025, we are talking about going once again to moon, going to Mars. Elon Musk speaking that he is going to send people to Mars in lakhs and then create Mars-based colony. So when you speak about technological disruptions and changes, I think this can also be a story of the space era. Look at another story about physics. I think maybe 50 years back, physicists mentioned all the laws of the physics have already been invented, and there is nothing more to be found out. They said, I think the universe was so evident, and in fact, what really happened is when this type of suggestions came, the research in physics came down drastically. In the last 50 years, you will see the new findings in physics were very less, maybe a few years back. But then now with the advent of new technologies, for example, the new observation platforms that we are able to launch, the new theories like the quantum coming up in the domain, the physics and the particle physics that has come, the physics is once again coming up and saying that the laws of the physics are still rudimentary. Today the world and the universe are not explained by any of the laws of the physics. They need much more refined laws. And so the interest in research in physics has now once again increasing, and we realize that the statement that everything has been found out about the universe is absolutely wrong, and today we know that we know about the universe much, much lesser than we ever imagined. Look at challenges that we have the new health issues. The COVID-19 paralyzed the entire world, though we claim that we are technologically advanced and we are able to solve problems, but we found that we are so weak in the presence of huge challenges. And what are those huge challenges in front of us? Still, the question of a disease which can spread very fast. We have no idea how do we really handle it in a short time. We still do not know a large climate or ecological disaster looming on us. How do we really handle it? Recently, there was a forest fire in one of the states of United States, and they looked at it with so much of anxiety. They had no solution even for that fire, and everything was destroyed. So much of costly thing. And you just imagine a tsunami or such thing happening. And the human society will get paralyzed when you have a large-scale disaster. And look at another possibility. An asteroid is going to come and hit us in next 10 years. What exactly we are going to do? We are going to be remaining ready to get extinct, or we will act on something to solve this problem and save humanity? Not in the Hollywood movies, but in real life. Whether it is really going to happen, I do not know. But there are challenges of grand nature, which you still do not have answers. But still we grab and look at all the technological possibilities, build up human societies, and work towards all of this. I think this is the nature of the human beings, and this is the excitement that we have. So I talk about those excitement in front of you, being a person from technology domain. It's always keeping us on the toes and make us to work on new domains all the time. Still keeping fingers crossed on the possibilities of dangers and accidents that can come out of all those growth of technology. So let me stop here and wish you once again all the very best on a great journey ahead. And I can only tell you that only working through technology we are going to solve human race's problems. And as a nation, it is my desire and wish that we become a leader in technology. We still are not, as a country, we are still a country who are adopting technology. I think this has to change over the years. We should be the one who will create knowledge for the world. And for this, we need to mentor and create institutions, build up research laboratories and institutions in a bigger scale. Some examples are there, success stories are around, but then we need to replicate this story in many, many other domains. I wish you become the leaders who will make the transition in the years to come. Wish you all the very best and a great day ahead.